Hello there and welcome to the news tonight, your one stop for the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilchi and here are the headlines. Supreme Court affirms Kerala's liquor policy, the state government to allow alcohol to be served only in five-star hotels. The CPM plenum in Kolkata focuses on self-assessment. Leadership tackles charge of shrinking inner party democracy, infusing young blood in organisation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reassures SC/ST entrepreneurs, says the government is fully focused on financial inclusion, empowerment and job creation. A former Indian Air Force official is arrested from Punjab for allegedly spying for Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI. And Delhi gears up to implement the odd-even formula to curb air pollution. Delhi Police backs the initiative and to conduct rehearsals on the 31st of December for a smooth functioning. Top story this evening, the Supreme Court affirmed the Kerala government's new excise policy today, which restricts the sale and consumption of liquor just to five-star hotels. In August 2014, the Kerala government had ordered the hundreds of bars to shut down with an aim of complete prohibition in the next 10 years. Here's a report.
Kerala's policy to go dry in 10 years got the Supreme Court stamp on Tuesday. The top court today upheld the state government's liquor policy that restricts consumption in five-star hotels only. The decision was challenged by bar owners who earlier lost their case in the Kerala High Court. Bar owners say the verdict will force them out of business besides affecting the state's tourism.
We thought at least 3 and 4 star will have a good decision to open from the Supreme Court, but we are all shocked to hear this. And it's mainly the MICE sector is affected in tourism here. Very badly. And even for this new year, I know a lot of people are going out of Kerala, out of India.
The Oman Chandi-led Congress government introduced the policy last year. Starting with allowing only five-star pubs and hotels to serve alcohol, the state aims to go for complete prohibition in the next 10 years. While the hotels argued the policy is discriminatory, the Kerala government says it wants to prevent young people from drinking too much. It also argues that liquor is available at retail outlets.
According to the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India, alcohol being a state subject, no courts or nobody can question the decision taken by a state government. And thirdly, the most important thing is that already there is a Supreme Court constitutional verdict in the court case against government of Karnataka, Kerala and Andhra Pradesh in 1999, stating that very clearly that alcohol business, liquor business is not a fundamental right. So it is the privilege of the government to decide what trade it has to be done.
We welcome the decision of the Supreme Court, and it's a vindication of our position that the government of Kerala has taken.
An average Kerala resident drinks 8.3 litres of alcohol per year, more than double the national average. Kerala's share is 14.9% of the total liquor consumption in the country, and it buys alcohol worth 30 crore rupees a day. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, the CPM leadership in its party plenum that's currently underway in Kolkata said that it's going through a self-critical assessment of the situation. According to reports, former party General Secretary Prakash Karat has suggested several amendments to the plenum report. Several representatives are understood to have spoken on the lack of internal democracy within the party. Addressing a press conference on the third day of the party's plenum session, Politburo member Mohammad Salim said that they were also introspecting organizational lacunae. In fact, Salim also answered questions about what the party was doing to infuse more fresh blood in the party.
We meet not to criticize. The Communist Party, the practices, age-old practices, we meet to have a self-critical assessment of the situation and assessing the strength and the weaknesses of the organization and trying to find out with a collective wisdom the future course. Amendment is not placed, it's been encouraged and collected and been submitted. वो पहले डेलीगेट्स के अंदर सर्कुलेट होंगे, उससे पहले हमारे पीबी में सीसी में डिस्कशन होंगे, उसके बाद डेलीगेट्स में होंगे, फिर वो एक्सेप्ट होंगे या रिजेक्ट होंगे और उसके बाद फिर आपके पास जाएंगे.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated today that financial inclusion remains his government's main focus. He also assured that the centre is fully committed towards working for the empowerment of people, especially those belonging to the backward classes. Inaugurating a national conference of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe entrepreneurs in New Delhi, Modi said that banks have given loans worth 50,000 crore rupees to small entrepreneurs under the Mudra Yojana. He also said that the primary objective of these loans for SC, ST, OBCs and women entrepreneurs is to provide jobs to about 14 crore people. Modi also hailed Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's contributions. The conference was organized by the Dalit Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry on Ambedkar's 125th birth anniversary.
दुख तब होता है कि बैंक में किसी दलित को लोन चाहिए तो लोहे के चने चबाने पड़ते हैं. ये स्थिति पलटनी है. मुद्रा योजना है, PMY. उस योजना के तहत समाज के इस प्रकार के तबके के लोग पिछले 7-8 महीने में इस योजना को आगे बढ़ाया. करीब करीब 80 लाख लोगों को एक भी रुपये की गारंटी के बिना बैंकों से लोन दिया गया.
And speaking of finances, India's economic growth was described as the only bright spot in the world by IMF chief this year, and it was definitely that, having grown faster than its giant neighbor China. But it's not been an entirely rosy picture, as key economic reforms remained a non-starter. Let's take a look at how the Indian economy performed this year on key parameters.
The economy is growing faster than China, but slower than expected. That's the picture for India at the end of calendar year 2015. At the start of the year, the government pegged GDP growth in the range of 8 to 8.5% for this fiscal. But then came a weak monsoon, a drought-like situation, weak signals from advanced economies, delayed reforms, all of which pushed down the growth rate to below 8%. The silver lining was a low rate of inflation, mainly on account of a sharp fall in crude prices. Wholesale prices remained in the negative territory almost the entire year. Starting at minus 0.39% in January, it touched minus 5% in June, but by November, prices hardened to minus 2%. High food prices contributed to this, driven by a spike in seasonal vegetables like onion and tomato, fruits and protein items. Two bad monsoons in a row sharply pushed up retail prices of tur or arhar dal to record levels of 200 rupees per kilogram in October, forcing the government to resort to imports and carry out raids against hoarders. In November, the combined consumer price index for rural and urban workers touched 5.4%. The consumer food price index was at 6%, the highest since October 2014. But the retail price index is still below the 6% target set by the Reserve Bank for January 2016.
We will use the space for further accommodation when available, while keeping the economy anchored to the projected disinflation path that should take inflation down to 5% by March 2017.
During the year, the RBI cut short-term rates at which banks borrow money 4 times, bringing it to 6.75% from 8% in January. But high retail inflation numbers released in November could see the bank shelving further cuts.
Reserve Bank held rates today. Going forward, we will follow developments on commodity prices, especially food and oil, even while tracking inflationary expectations and external developments.
On the positive side, India improved its ease of doing business ranking by 12 notches to reach 130th place. India also got more foreign direct investment, $30 billion as greenfield foreign direct investment between January and June. China, on the other hand, got $27 billion and the US $26 billion in this period. Indian economy showed mixed results in 2015, but it's ending on a somber note, with the lack of political consensus on the GST bill dampening business spirit. Krishna Nantrapathi's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
With a quick break here, more news follows. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. We have with us Minister for Railways Suresh Prabhu.
We are doing energy audits. We are doing solar energy. We are also removing the bulbs and bringing in LEDs so that the electric consumption will go down. Railways don't have the money to invest, so we are asking the private-public partnership to do that happen. We are developing a partnership with Japanese for research and development, which has never happened.
Watch Suresh Prabhu, Minister of Railways, articulate his view in State of the Economy only on Rajya Sabha television.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. Let's get to some more national news now. The Delhi Crime Branch has arrested a former Indian Air Force official, Ranjit Singh, from Punjab for allegedly spying for the Pakistani intelligence agency, the ISI. The Delhi police was tracking Singh for about 3 to 4 months. He was allegedly caught giving out vital information. Posted at the Bhatinda Air Force Station, Singh was a non-commissioned officer handling administrative work for the military. He was dismissed from service after the police alerted the Defence Ministry of his activities.
He has been arrested for passing official secrets to an intelligence operative of a neighboring country, and some bank transactions are also there in which the amount was transferred to his account. In lieu of this, he used to pass on whatever details he had about Air Force, like Air Force exercises, the movement of the aircrafts, the deployment of the units.
The Delhi government will conduct rehearsals of the odd-even formula to curb air pollution on the 31st of December. The Delhi government also rubbished reports that a dry run would be held tomorrow on Wednesday, confirming that the ambitious traffic formula will come into effect only from the 1st of January.
The dry run for the odd-even formula to check air pollution in Delhi will be done on 31st of December. But the Delhi Transport Minister insisted that it will be only for the coordination committee that consists of Delhi Transport Department, Traffic Police, Divisional Commissioners, District Magistrate, Sub-Divisional Magistrate and the Delhi Transport Corporation.
प्री कोऑर्डिनेशन रिहर्सल 31 तारीख को सुबह 9 बजे से अलग अलग चौराहों पर किया जाएगा। इससे पब्लिक को किसी तरह का प्रभाव नहीं पड़ेगा। ये उस नियम को लागू करने के लिए नहीं 31 को हम रिहर्सल कर रहे हैं। ये आपस की जो टीमें हैं, जो सारी जो अलग अलग फोर्स हैं, उनके साथ एक प्रॉपर कोऑर्डिनेशन बन जाए।
Delhi Police Commissioner B.S. Basi also backed the initiative. He urged people not to misuse exemptions and clarified that the fine of 2,000 rupees will be levied if the rule is flouted.
We have taken a number of steps which have improved road safety in the city and which ensures mobility with safety in Delhi. So this will be another task. So we do not apprehend any serious problem, particularly because the number of exemptions make the job easier.
The government has exempted VVIPs, police, paramilitary forces, emergency services like ambulances, fire brigade, gas-run private vehicles. The private vehicles with odd and even numbers will run on alternate days on a trial basis for a fortnight from 1st of January 2016. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now latest on the DDCA investigation, the probe committee chief Gopal Subramaniam has written to National Security Advisor Ajit Doval for a team of officers. In his letter, Subramaniam sought officers from the CBI, the IB and police to form a special investigation team to inquire into the alleged financial irregularities in the DDCA. The former Solicitor General said that this request is part of the inquiry procedure. However, he did not clarify the number of officers that he needed. Also, in a separate letter to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, Subramaniam assured that a clean investigation into the alleged scam will be carried out.
पहले पूरी इसकी माइक्रो डिटेलिंग कर लेनी चाहिए कि वो क्या मांग कर सकते हैं, मांग नहीं कर सकते, कौन से अफसर ले सकते हैं, नहीं ले सकते। और मुझे लगता है कि गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम अपने कंधे पर बंदूक दिल्ली सरकार की चला करके काम करवाना चाहते हैं। इसमें पूरी तरह से पॉलिटिक्स हो रही है और इस पॉलिटिक्स का भाग मुझे लगता है कि गोपाल सुब्रमण्यम को नहीं बनना चाहिए।
The officers will come later. First of all, the investigation has to go forth, and the reports which are coming out in the press suggest that the government will use all its instrumentalities, including the lieutenant governor, in order to stall and scuttle the probe. You know, given the big crocodiles who are apparently or allegedly involved in this entire episode, the only way that the truth will be unearthed is if there is a Supreme Court monitored SIT which goes into the entire affair.
Gopal Subramaniam is merely compromising his position. He is drawing his power from a totally illegal notification. Let the governments fight. Why should you become party to the whole thing? You are writing, you are even giving opinions how it is constitutionally valid, and then you want to take over the commission and be its chairman.
The annual report on print media that was released today painted a rosy outlook for the industry. It indicated that the print media registered a growth of 5.80% in 2014-15. 5,817 new publications were registered in the year, while 34 went out of operation. Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley said that despite the digital shift of media, print remained a safe bet.
Releasing the 59th annual report on the print media, Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley pointed out India as an exception to the worldwide trend of decline in print media. He underlined that the consumer of news has to discern truth from the differing viewpoints and versions.
इंटरनेट मीडियम के बाद विशेष रूप से प्रिंट मीडिया की सर्कुलेशंस या अपने आप में स्थायी हो गई हैं या कई स्थानों पर कम हो गई, लेकिन भारत इसका एक एक्सेप्शन रहा है.
Jaitley also stressed that the dividing line between facts and opinion had become very blurred. Print media, he said, has an opportunity to bring clear facts amidst explosion of electronic media.
टेलीविजन चैनल्स पे भी एक श्रिल प्रकार से कई बार चर्चा होती है, तो उस चर्चा के बाद वास्तविक समाचार क्या है उसकी तलाश में व्यूअर या रीडर घूमता है. और प्रिंट मीडिया के लिए इसलिए बहुत बड़ा अवसर है कि वो जो स्पष्ट सरल न्यूज है बिना किसी ओपिनियन के उस तक पहुंच जाए.
Of the over 1 lakh publications registered till 31st March 2015, Hindi had a figure of 42,493, followed by English with 13,661. State-wise analysis showed Uttar Pradesh with 16,130 publications, Maharashtra with 14,394 and Delhi with 12,177. Together, all publications reached out to over 51 crore readers. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, at a time when Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made foreign policy the showpiece of his government, a parliamentary committee is accusing the Foreign Ministry of neglecting it and eroding the government's credibility by turning a blind eye to its needs.
In its latest report, the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs has pointed out that promises made overseas by the President, Prime Minister or the Foreign Minister are not being fulfilled. It has further held the Finance Ministry responsible for this state of affairs.
The biggest challenge facing Indian foreign policy is not Pakistan, it is the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance has been seriously undermining the credibility of the government of India internationally. Prime Ministers, the previous one and the present one, go to foreign countries, announce commitments, development grants, specific projects, and Finance Ministry doesn't release the money.
With 31 members, the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs is represented by MPs of all parties, including the BJP and the Congress. The committee unanimously states that the Foreign Ministry's functioning is not in tune with the aspirations of nation. It has recommended not only an increase in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Committee's budget, but also a separate provision for promises made overseas.
We are saying insulate the foreign grants from any other budget cuts or restraints or constraints that the Ministry of Finance imposes.
because this engages our national credibility. You see, after all, we are a country that must be taken seriously in the world.
The most recent example of this are promises made at the Africa Summit that involved 54 countries from the continent. It was the same story at summits of the ASEAN, SAARC and other. The Parliamentary Committee says a separate fund to honour such commitments is the only solution to the problem.
Standing Committee also feels that there is a lot of frustration inside the Ministry of External Affairs due to these reasons. Lack of fund, sort of a staff and under support by the government. In such a situation, how can we expect India's bigger role on international fora? Akhilesh Suman with camera person Sudhanshu in Delhi for Rajya Sabha Television.
And now let's quickly take you through some more updates from across the country and nationwide. At least 7 people suffered partial loss of vision after undergoing cataract surgeries at a charitable hospital in Gujarat's Rajkot district. 4 others developed serious complications like irritation and blurry vision after the botched eye surgery. The laser machine for conducting the surgeries has reportedly been sent for tests. A woman was allegedly raped at the Infosys campus in Pune on Sunday. Details only came to light after she filed a complaint today with the police. 2 men have been arrested. The complainant and the suspects worked at the canteen of the outsourcing major. The University Grants Commission asked all universities to ensure online admission system from the next academic session. UGC Chairman Ved Prakash said that establishing the online admission system will not only ensure efficiency but also promote transparency in the functioning of various institutions. With that, another quick break here, but we'll be back with international news. Stay with us.
India's star shining in global affairs.
The professional army of any country does not have faith, piety and jihad in the name of God.
From regional power to assertive global leader.
Sri Lanka denies that these violations took place.
We want India to be a superpower. We have been doing everything for decades and we have been giving to India everything best we have.
Experts debate the nation's foreign policy.
We should not have any political preference of ours so far as Nepal is concerned.
Taliban were the creatures of Pakistan. Whatever people may say, they were created by Pakistan.
India's World with Bharat Bhushan on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. Let's get you international news. In calling Iran an important partner of India, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj called for an increase in bilateral economic cooperation in energy, infrastructure and trade and commerce. Sushma's remarks came at the 18th session of the India-Iran Joint Commission in New Delhi. The session was co-chaired by Ali Tabnia, also the Minister of Economic Affairs and Finance of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Both leaders reviewed the progress in trade and economic cooperation and a number of related matters. They also discussed the possibilities in cooperation in railways, including by supply of rails, rolling stock and signalling. Earlier, Taibnia also called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who reiterated India's desire to expand economic cooperation with Iran. Now, the Iraqi forces' recapture of Ramadi has been hailed by experts and Western powers, with the Iraqi Prime Minister also vowing to annihilate the Islamic State in the coming year. However, experts say that it won't be easy, with political struggles to be resolved, as well as expected tribal vendettas and the challenges of rebuilding.
Iraqi national flag flying high over a government building in Ramadi, signifying expulsion of Islamic State. A morale-boosting victory for the Iraqi security forces. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has now said that Islamic State will be ousted from the country. He said the next mission is retaking the city of Mosul, saying it would be the fatal and final blow to Islamic State.
عام 2016 عام الانتصار الكبير وعام الانتصار النهائي وإنهاء وجود داعش على أرض العراق وأرض الرافدين وهزيمتهم الكبرى النهائية.
The capture of Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province in the Euphrates River, marks a major milestone for the US-trained Iraqi forces. The jihadists had seized it in May in an embarrassing defeat for the army. But its liberation will not be the end of its crisis.
Now the second part of this very hard process comes into play, which is creating an environment where all people can return to their homes.
However, it is going to be challenging. Islamic State is known to be resilient and still holds vast tracts of western Iraq. Experts say expelling IS from towns is the easier part of the task. The rehabilitation, return of those displaced and rebuilding and resumption of essential services is a more complicated and expensive mission. More so when the Iraqi treasury is nearly empty. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. China on Tuesday launched its most sophisticated observation satellite, the Gaofen 4, as part of the country's high-definition Earth observation project. The successful launch was its 19th space mission in this year. It will be used for disaster prevention and relief, surveillance of geological disasters and meteorological forecasts. Attacks by suspected Boko Haram militants left more than 50 people dead and as many as 114 others wounded in the northeastern Nigerian cities of Maiduguri and Madagali. In fact, Maiduguri is the birthplace of the Boko Haram. 2 people were arrested by Belgian authorities on suspicion of plotting terrorist attacks in Brussels on New Year's Eve. The raid took place on Sunday and Monday. 6 people were detained during the operation. 4 of them were later released. Around 450 Syrian fighters and their families were evacuated from 2 besieged areas on Monday. This happened under the kind of operation that the UN hopes can be a stepping stone towards a wider peace accord in the country's civil war. Hundreds of Hezbollah supporters set off fireworks in celebration. And now let's get you all the latest from the world of sports in SportsBeat. The Indian football team suffered a big blow ahead of the SAF Cup semis as star striker Robin Singh was ruled out of the tournament due to a knee injury. Robin Singh has netted twice in India's 2-0 win over Sri Lanka in their opening game. India will face Maldives in the first semi-final on Thursday. Australia won their 8th consecutive series against the West Indies as they thrashed them by 177 runs in the second test at Melbourne. Chasing the unlikely target of 460, West Indies were bowled out for 282. Mitchell Marsh claimed 4 wickets while Nathan Lyon took 3 wickets. The third and the final test will begin in Sydney on Sunday. Arsenal topped the English Premier League after they beat Bournemouth 2-0. Mesut Ozil was the star performer as he created the first goal and scored the second. Leicester, who will play Manchester City later on Tuesday, can reclaim the top spot with a win. And Manchester United were held to a goalless draw by Chelsea at Old Trafford. United, who were struggling in the past few games, gave a much improved performance but failed to break the deadlock. With a draw, Chelsea moved up to 14th place with 20 points from 19 games. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. From the entire team here, good night.